Welcome to Seriously Uncork Yourself. I am your host, Lynn Kuhn, and this is a podcast that brings to you a firsthand look at what it seriously means to meet people where they are in their life. Enjoy the experience from illusions to reality. Find out what it is to restore to high performance, renew your freedoms, and rejuvenate playfulness. I can't wait to share with you my experience and the experiences of many others in hopes that you feel inspired to renew yourself and live your best life. Thanks for listening. Now let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Today, I am so excited and honored to have my special guest, Angie Davis, on my new podcast, Seriously Uncork Yourself. We will be discussing empowering others to embrace themselves. I met Angie a few years ago, and not only did we travel together for trainings and to learn different strategies and techniques and mindset and, just all the different things that we did for our businesses, and we got to know each other. And I can honestly say that Angie has became a very, very good friend of mine. And she's one of those that are the true blues. And I don't give that title to too many people because I believe that when you finally meet that person that is a true blue friend, they are there for you. And as well as you are there for them. And Angie is, she's there. I mean, if I call her up in 2 seconds flat, she'll help me with things and give me ideas and suggestions. And I just love her to death. And I am just so, so excited for you to be here today, Angie. So what I would like for you to do, if you wouldn't mind, would you tell our audience just a little bit more about yourself and what you're doing nowadays in your busy world? Oh my gosh.
Sure, Lynn. Thank you for that nice introduction. I'm Angie Davis, and I have been on a journey of self-love, self-healing, and gaining control of my entire being. 4.5 years ago, I set out on a journey to help others in such a big way. But I never realized going into that I had to help myself first in order to help others. So my story starts with learning to embrace myself completely. I continue to work on myself through mindset and personal development. Now, I also share the techniques I have learned to completely transform my life.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Just amazing. So today we're going to talk about this great topic of empowering others to embrace themselves. I would like you also to tell the audience, where is that taking you? What does that mean to you? What is so important about empowering others so that they can embrace themselves?
Well, it's so important to me because it hits me in my soul, and just it's what I've had to learn how to do through battling anxiety and depression through my entire life. I just never felt worthy. I never felt my self-confidence was shot. I, always was seeking the acceptance from others, very codependent. I mean, just all those things. And I never just felt good or whole or anything. I just, wanted to I was like just kind of going through life and just surviving. And it was been such a horrible battle. But I want to help others because I know I'm not the only one that struggles and that has struggled and doesn't see a way out or doesn't know how to change and make a better life. And what I've learned and what's changed me and transformed my life completely was really to dig into my mindset. And that was something that 10, 15 years ago, if somebody would have said, you need to change your mindset, I'd have been like, what? What does that even mean, right? Because I just didn't get it. But once I figured out that self-talk is involved in that big time, verbiage as far as what you think or speak about yourself, or even just situations throughout the day, just tweaking a little bit of my verbiage, phrasing my thoughts, just filling my mind with good stuff in the morning and before I'd start my day, instead of oh my gosh, I have this to do and this to do, this to do. I used to be like a list person, and I still am. But if I start off a positive routine in the morning, focused on filling my mind with good stuff, positivity, my days are so much easier to where if anything comes at me, I can handle it. I know how to like dodge and weave and go through things, right? And not let it ruin my day. Like I used to say all the time years ago, oh, this is just a terrible day. Well, now, really, is it a terrible day? Or was it just a uncomfortable moment that you get past? It's not the entire day isn't ruined or the entire month, or you don't hold on to that. So anyway, I want to be able to help people learn how to embrace themselves, because we are all put on this earth to do big and powerful things. And when we don't feel like we have it within us, then we just don't. And then other people are missing out on our, I don't know, what do you want to say? Like our own personal talent and uniqueness that we only have to share with others. So
Yeah, and I think that is just so important. And I know, like, my go-to thing, my sentence is that I always say this, and I've learned this from many, many years of, working with other people and growing myself. And with what you just touched on, it reminds me of that sentence that I always say, that I always seriously meet people where they are at. And I don't think people understand that so much, because, okay, so here we are and we're doing these things for ourselves. And then all of a sudden you meet somebody that maybe they're going to coach with you. Maybe they're just an acquaintance that you've met. And I think a lot of times we tend to prejudge that person, where we really don't know where they've been, what's going on in their life that day, that moment. And so with all of the work that, like you were saying, doing with the mindset and setting your day up, now all of a sudden, tell our audience, like, okay, so you meet that person and all the work that you've done in your life. Where does that help you out when you meet somebody new, instead of prejudging them, or that first impression per se that we get in people? And how do you handle that now?
well, I don't prejudge anymore. I know what you're talking about. I really listen to the words, their verbiage that come out. I pay attention to their body, like how they're holding things. Are they closed off? Are they open? Are they relaxed? I mean, things like that, because there is so much you can tell about a person by watching their body language, listening to how they speak, especially if they're speaking about themselves. And then you can kind of feel for where they're at. And, sometimes even in the conversation, you could reword some things that they've said. If it's, let's say, if it's negative about themselves, you say, oh, well, you can just rephrase that and put in something positive, just to give them that boost of, hey, I'm here for you, and let them know that this is a comfort zone, not a judgment zone.
And that, it's so true, because I know that a lot of times, this was like in years and years, maybe even before that, is with working with the public so much as I did. Sometimes it's, when you see somebody and you talk to them and they are not what you think that they're supposed to be doing. So it's, in other words, it's not what they're doing, it's how you're prejudging them, type of deal. And like you said, you don't do that anymore. And that is where I know in my life too, I've grown, from, a lot of the things that's happened to me, in my past, and working through some of the things that I had to work through, as far as like even addictions and stuff like that with me. And so you meet all types of people. And I think what you just said too is so important. You listen to that person, and you truly know who they are. Because I can even remember, not even too long ago, going to one of my trainings, and I met a person, and I was thinking, oh boy, I don't know, and but then I listened. It was a woman, so I listened to her. And sometimes people are just nervous too. And so their reactions, they come off different. But then once I got to know her, she's a joy, she's quirky, she's just like everything like me, and we got to be, actually good friends. But if I would have just had taken that first impression and not listened to that person and not know who she was, or truly, for myself, it was like bring that down, listen to that person, and look at what's going on in that situation, because you just don't know. So I think that is really important. And I
You
just love
don't
that.
know. And like your example was so spot on. We don't, even I don't, as as humans, we don't just let everything out, our total you-ness, I guess you'd say, out, because at first we were pretty guarded with that. You just, you have a presentation, you meet someone, you try to stay professional and to the point, and that's about it. But yeah, like your quirkiness and joy and excitement and, things that I am totally always such a spaz, right? But people don't see that until I feel comfortable around them, and maybe vice versa. So maybe
Absolutely.
that's something I still need to work on myself.
Right. And we do. And I think, and it's like it's ongoing. It's just like, because you do, if you don't, like I talk in some of my coaching about habit building, and you have to do it so many times to make it a habit. And it's so easy sometimes to, once you quit that, what do? We fall back into those bad habits. And just like when we were talking before the show today, we were talking about your little Annabelle, how she just, in the morning, it's time for her to take that walk. It's time for her to go outside. And they are, and animals, I know my little one, she's a pretty much a creature of habit. And when that's broken, boy, they let you know, don't they?
They do, and she has adapted more to this schedule than I have. And I was more worried about her. We don't even get up to an alarm, but yeah, she knows. She's like, yep, it's time. It's time to get up to do my morning routine, my morning walk, my things, and she's good. She goes back to bed then. But
I know, they wake like little ones, like little kids, little babies. They wake you up and they fall back to sleep, and then you're just like going, oh, if I could only go back. If I could only go back to sleep. Yeah. And then one of the other things that I would like to touch on today is there's the three categories that I've broken up into putting into the podcast. Is the first one is to restore to high performance. And that's an ongoing feeling of full engagement, joy, and confidence that comes from consistently living from your best self. And then the second one is the one that we're going to go ahead and touch on today, and that's renewing your freedom. So I'll explain that in a little bit. And then the third one is to rejuvenate playfulness. So everybody that's listening, you'll have to come back on later to hear what those other two are, and we'll talk more about them. But the one that we'll talk about today is renewing your freedoms. And so as an example, we have mindset freedoms, we have relationship freedoms, self-care freedoms. And so those are just a couple of examples that we have. And I asked Angie prior to the show how she felt about renewing your freedoms and what does that mean to her. So Angie, what could you tell our audience? What does that mean to you?
Renewing my freedoms, this goes with my mindset. I was a prisoner of my own mind for the majority of my life. There was a lot of battles going on up in my mind, and it was in control of me, and I allowed that. But I have never felt as free as I am now, and that is a new kind of freedom to me. So like years ago, if somebody would have asked me about that, I wouldn't have known how to answer it. But now experiencing my mindset change and my growth, I really can explain that. And that is my new freedom, is I have control of my mind. So when it starts to get a little crazy up there, as far as thinking negative or worrying, trying to do too many things, I have the power to stop and rephrase my thoughts or reorganize my whatever insanity of a schedule. And I can change that at any moment.
Right.
And that gives me freedom over my whole day and everything, because knowing that I can take control of that.
Yeah, especially now in your situation with going in and your children start tomorrow. Is that when
Yes,
your children start school? Yeah.
we'll start.
And so, yeah, so Angie's in there on the front lines working with our little ones. And I give you a whole lot of credit for doing that. And we all appreciate you for doing that. But as far as your freedoms, and so basically you're presented right now with a whole bunch of things that you could actually put on the stops with. But instead of doing that, what I'm hearing is that you've reconditioned a lot of these feelings that, to make your day so that you can be positive through your day instead of letting all the negativity come out.
Right.
And what are some of the things besides, like we talked on in the morning, getting up and doing that little bit of a routine of, you take the little pup out and you're getting that exercise going. But what are some other things that you do to keep your mindset in check through the day,
Okay.
especially?
So some of the big things that I do is refrain from like checking email, texts, whatever, right in the morning, getting on social media right away. I like to get up, I drink a bottle of water, get my body in check, and then we go on our walk. And I love to tune into a podcast or audibles. I'm pretty good at audibles because I love to listen to books. I'm not one that sits down very often to read, and Audible has been great. So I'll listen to that, excuse me, while I'm walking my dog. So I'm filling my mind with positive things, other people's experiences of how they've turned certain situations in their life into positive. And
Mm-hmm.
so that gets my mind like fueled up, I guess you'd say, with goodness right away in the morning. Eat breakfast. I'm really big on you got to eat breakfast and take my vitamins and, just do my normal routine. But my big thing is my water and listening to something uplifting and positive that's going to get me started on the right track. So it doesn't allow any other negative mind thinking or anything to come into my mind. So not
Mm-hmm.
because then I don't think about, oh, how tired I am or all the things that I've got to do today and start worrying and getting anxious and, oh, how is this going to go and how's that going to work? And it's like that stuff that used to flood my mind in the morning doesn't anymore because I plug into something to stop that before it even happens. That makes sense.
It does. That's absolutely, that is such a great suggestion to do, because I think a lot of people, they, as soon as their feet hit the floor, they're like on run mode, like, because they're trying to get to work, they're trying to get this, they're shoving down a cup of coffee, they're, go, 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 go. And I am like that a lot of times. And I have to always take that time to say, hey, stop, just
Right.
stop and breathe,
Or like get up a
refocus.
half hour earlier and make
Yeah,
sure you have
absolutely.
time. Although it sounds terrible the night before when you're exhausted and you're not sleeping. I mean, I deal with it too, but I'm like, I got to be up.
Yep. And I do that too. It's so I can prepare, and people laugh at me because when I go back to work, I need to be there. I don't know, somewhere around like 6 in the morning, whatever. Sometimes it's a little later. It just depends. And, sometimes they let us come in earlier with just, how the mail is running when I go to my real job. But I get up at 4. And there was, why do you get up at 4? Because, it's a half an hour to get there. And, I've got stuff that I want to get done. Instead of, if I don't get what I need to get done and I'm not prepared for my day, then that encompasses my whole brain that whole day of like, oh my gosh, now I got this to do and I got to get home because I didn't
Yep.
do it. And this way, if I get all this stuff done and all that crud out of the way, then I can, let those positive thoughts, fill in and keep me going through the day. And the other thing that's really helped me a lot too is that I will stop myself instead of reacting right away. Because I always, in the past, if a situation came up, I would react
Yeah.
instead of taking the situation and looking at it and not go into that instant trying to solve that problem. Because a lot of times that would just present more problems, if that makes sense. It'd be just like, yeah. So
That is so
I
good. That is a great one to point out because I too do that. I used to just react and never think through. And now if you don't react and you think about it, even if think about it for a day, then the next day you're like, what, was that even worth all the thought? It really wasn't. And I'm so glad, because it really wasn't that big. And if I would have reacted, it would have been ridiculous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I just love this little bit of time that we had together. And before we go off here, could you please let the audience know how to get a hold of you, Angie?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. You can find me on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, it's under Angie J. Davis. You can also email me. My email is angbosma@yahoo.com. And if I have a free PDF that has simple strategies that I use to tweak my mindset and that I use still to this day on a daily basis. And I have that free PDF that I will shoot back to you and let you have to, if you'd like to work on your mindset.
That's awesome. So another thing too that they'll know is that I'll go ahead and put that in the show notes also, in case you guys out there missed any of it, how to get a hold of Angie and how to get that great PDF that she has. And I just want to say that thank you so much today, Angie, for coming on, because I know that everybody's busy and you're taking time out of your day to spend it with me. And I really appreciate you for that.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
This has been wonderful. We'll have to do it more. We'll have to talk on those other two subjects.
Yes,
next.
Definitely.
So thanks everybody for tuning in. Love and peace. We love you guys. Bye. Thank you for tuning into the show. I hope this brought out your passions, ignited you, and inspired you to restart and reclaim your life. Please subscribe to my podcast and feel free to leave a rating and a review. Until the next episode of Seriously Uncork Yourself, you can check out more information at lynnkuhn.com. That's Lynn, L-Y-N-N, Kuhn, K-U-H-N.com. Be sure to tune in for my next episode. Sending you all peace and love until our next time together. Seriously Uncork Yourself.